Okay, back at it. This is round 7 of Mike McCallum versus James Toney. All right, James is going to swing his rear foot behind him right here. Then he's going to push off that rear foot and snap out a jab. And note this rear hand parry by Mike. James will double it up, looking for the body. And then, okay, right. So Mike's going to go start penduluming to his left. And James is going to catch him square with his lead. So this is a good view. First, let's hone in on Mike. His shoulders are square, head over that lead foot, and he's going to snap off a jab. And now let's flip and look at James. You'll see a similar look. We got the square shoulders, head near that lead foot, but James has shifted more of his weight over his lead foot, loading it to throw a leaping hook. And let's stop it right here. Mike snapped out that jab, and here comes that leaping hook as Mike pulls. And then next, James will flick out a jab as Mike pulls. Now Mike will fold out this jab as James parries. And notice James kept his head over his lead foot. And he'll fire out this lead counter as Mike parries and pulls. And then we'll get some movement. Okay, Mike will jab as James parries and pulls. Then he's going to push off this rear foot and fire out a jab. And then they're going to punch on the same beat. James going to the body while Mike was looking up top. Now James is going to get back to this lead foot right here and then snap off this jab, pushing Mike to his rear foot, who will fold out his own jab. All right, James is going to shift his weight over this lead foot, throw a leaping jab, and then go to his body with his lead. And note that parry pull by Mike. Then James will do a little pendulum. So this is neat. James is going to step on this lead foot, loading it to throw this leaping hook. And check out that rear hand cover by Mike. But this hook is just to keep Mike over that lead foot, so it's right in line with James's rear cross. Now, Mike's going to try to pull away from this rear cross and potentially bring this lead or check hook with him. Now Mike will jab, and we'll see James timing him, coming in with his lead. And then Mike's going to snap out another jab, and James is going to pull and then come back with this rear cross. And note the drop by Mike. And this is neat too. Mike is stuck in this waist bend position. But note this lead arm. See how it pops out? And he's going to wrap it around James and then pull him across his body. Okay, James will jab, and we'll see Mike parry and pull. Mike will catch James with his lead, and then we're going to see James double up his jab. But let's hone in on Mike. He's going to look to parry this first one right here. And the second one, he's looking to catch it and then counter out with his lead. Then they'll punch on the same beat. All right, I like this pattern. Mike will jab as James parries and pulls. Now, that jab from Mike is just to occupy James's rear hand so he could set up this lead hook to the body. And then we're going to see James decide to get under it. Now, Mike's going to fire off a jab, and we're going to see James slip inside. So James is going to snap off this jab and check out the lead counter by Mike. And then James is going to jab and note the rear hand parry by Mike. And then Mike's going to double up his jab, and we're going to see James pull, then drop. And then he's going to counter out with his rear uppercut and lead hook. And then Mike is looking to catch this hook and then counter out with his own hook. Now Mike's going to fire off a jab and drop as James parries and pulls. Then Mike's going to double it up, and we're going to see James pull, then drop. And then Mike's going to follow up with this lead hook, and then James is going to catch Mike with his lead. Then we're going to get some movement. Okay, James will snap off his jab as Mike drops, and then he's going to do it a second time, but this time Mike's going to go ahead and parry and then counter out with his lead, and then note this parry pull by James. And then he's going to go ahead and fold out a jab right here. And now James is going to step to his lead foot and catch Mike with his jab right there. And then Mike comes back with his counter jab, and note that parry pull by James. All right, James will jab as Mike parries. Then he's going to counter with his lead, and we're going to see James pull. Okay, now, right now, Mike's going to start circling to his left. First, he's going to feint, and then he'll double jab. But let's hone in on James. First, he's going to look to parry that feint right there, and then he's going to pull that jab, and then he's going to drop the second jab. So James will jab as Mike parries and pulls. Then he's going to counter back with this lead as James pulls. Then again, James will jab, and we're going to see Mike pull. And then one more time, we're going to see that counter with his lead. Now James will jab, and we're going to see Mike pull. Okay, James will throw his jab as Mike parries. And so we're going to find ourselves in a race. James is going to follow up with his rear cross, and Mike's going to look for his check hook. So they'll be both punching on the same beat. So what happens? Well, James transitions quicker from his jab to his rear cross than Mike transitioning from his parry to his hook. And then we'll have a little tie up, a break, little movement. All right, this is an interesting sequence. So Mike's going to drop, and James is going to look for his rear hand parry. Now, James is going to follow Mike down with his jab as Mike pendulums off his rear foot. Now, right here, Mike's off the ground, and James is going to follow him back with this rear cross. And what's nice about Mike is he always brings this rear hand with him. Now, Mike's on his rear foot, and he's going to counter back with this overhand as James pulls to his rear foot. And then James is going to come back with his rear hand. And then right here, Mike threw his hook, and James caught it on that lead foot. And then he's going to weave back to his rear foot. And then Mike comes back with this hook to the body. Now, James is going to catch him with this cross. And then Mike's going to get back to this lead foot, looking for his lead hook to the body, while James will get back to his lead foot and try to time him with a hook to the head. So James will jab as Mike parries and pulls. Then we'll have a little bit of movement. Now Mike will jab as James parries and pulls. And then Mike's going to double it up, and we're going to see James drop. And then he's going to pop back up and then drop again, getting under that third jab. And then right here, he's just going to fire out his own. Okay, James will throw his jab rear cross as Mike parries, then drops. So here's the parry. There's the drop. Then we'll have a tie up and a break. All right, this is a fun sequence. Mike's going to jab, and we're going to see James parry and pull. Now, Mike's going to follow up with a combination. He's going to throw a rear hook to the body, then lead hook to the body. And right here, this releases James' catch and counter hook, but Mike will bob down over that lead foot, getting under it. And now James is going to get back to this lead foot to throw his leaping jab rear cross. But let's hone in on Mike. First, note the parry right there. And then here comes that rear cross. And check out this rear hand. Mike's always bringing that rear hand with him when he pulls. Now, Mike's going to look for his rear hand counter as James bobs over that lead foot right there. And then I love this. James is going to turn his shoulders so they're both southpaw right here. And then James will follow up with this rear hook. So Mike will jab as James parries and pulls. Then he's going to follow up with this rear cross, and we're going to see James drop. And then one thing to note, check out that rear hand cover by James. Unfortunately, he releases it too soon because Mike's going to get his hook through right here. Now, it was a good idea because James could have caught that hook and then countered out with his own hook right here. Now, Mike will jab, catching James as he pulls. Then he's going to double it up, and then we're going to see James drop right here. And now, James is going to get back to this lead foot and check out the cover as Mike throws this lead hook. Now, James is going to drop and then throw his rear cross, and we're going to see Mike pull. And then Mike's going to come back with his rear hand. And then this is what I like. So we're going to see, instead of Mike pulling to his rear foot, because James is going to throw this rear cross, he decides to bob down over his lead foot right here. And check out the cover by James as Mike throws this hook. And then he's going to look for this uppercut and hook to the body, uppercut, then a tie up and a break. Okay, Mike will throw a jab, rear hook to the body as James parries and pulls, then drops. Then we're going to see James come back with this hook right here. Then he's going to get backed up to the ropes. Now we're going to see a rear uppercut from James and a hook. And we're going to see Mike pull, then drop. Right there. Now Mike comes back with this rear cross as James drops. And then we're going to see James drop again right here. And then he's going to pivot off this lead foot. And Mike's going to catch him with this lead hook. All right, James will snap off his jab as Mike parries and pulls. Then Mike's going to jab, and we're going to see James pull. And then right here, now Mike's going to feint this rear hand, and we're going to see James pull the trigger. So check out the forearm control. He's going to release, looking for his hook as James drops. And then James is going to come back with this rear cross. And again, note Mike's rear hand, how he brings it with him. Mike's going to follow up, trying to control James with his lead. James will drop, and then we're going to see Mike follow up with his rear cross. And then right here, James hooks out, and then note this rear hand cover by James, and we're going to see that hook from Mike, and then again, James will hook out. Now, Mike pulled, and if you noted, he had rear hand cover just in case. Then Mike's going to look for this hook to the body. We'll have a little break. Then Mike's going to throw his rear cross, lead hook, as James pulls and drops. And then Mike's going to look for the body again, right here, and then go up top, and then James counters. Now Mike will jab as James parries and pulls. Then we get some movement. Now Mike's going to double up his jab as James parries and pulls, then drops. And then he's going to counter out with his cross. All right, James will throw his jab, rear cross, and we're going to see Mike pull. And then check out how Mike uses his rear hand to block that rear cross by James. Now, Mike's going to look to counter with throwing his rear cross. And if you notice, he's on his rear foot, so he's going to go from his rear foot to his lead foot when he throws that cross. And James is going to look to follow up with his lead hook, going from his lead foot to his rear foot. So let's see that play out. They both miss. Now Mike's going to hook James right here around the waist, spinning him in this direction or across his body. Then Mike's going to follow up with this rear hook. Then look for a hook to the body right there. And then James is going to counter out with his own hook. And then Mike is going to dig into the body right there. Look for the hook up top, which he misses. Now James is going to get back to this lead foot to throw his lead hook. And that right there is going to do it for round 7.